Hi everyone, my name is David and I'm known as Unity Freedom. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'd like to talk about a topic that I think you might be interested in listening, and it's about the superiority and inferiority mindset. It's a topic that I think relates to Buddha's first step in the Eightfold Path, which is understanding. So if you're interested, without further ado, I'll come back and I'll talk more about it. So welcome back. So today I'll start with explaining what I understand in regards to Buddha's first step, which is understanding, and how it ties in to the superiority and inferiority mindset that we see today, and also why people judge. So before I expand the topic further, let me share with you what my understanding of the Buddha's first step. Now, in the Eightfold Path, we have all the steps for the path. That is the right understanding, the right intent, the right speech, the right livelihood, the life concentration, the right mindfulness, and so on. Now notice that when Buddha taught the Eightfold Path 2,500 years ago, he used the word right. But if you are to look at the word and examine the word right, don't you notice and you ask yourself a question, what is right? Isn't right means a certain finality to a certain understanding? Think about that. Is right the right word to use today? It might have been 2,500 years ago because the consciousness then were lower than the consciousness we have today. And if you look at the word understanding today, we can come and use the Einstein's description of insanity. You cannot resolve the problem that you created with the same consciousness that they use the same consciousness to create a problem and to use the same consciousness to get out of the problem. If you try to do the same thing again and again and expect different results, you're called insane. This is insane, insanity. So you cannot get out of a problem that you created with the same consciousness that you put yourself into. Now, if you are to replace consciousness with understanding, think about this. If you created a problem using the right understanding and you want to get out of the problem, can you use the right understanding that you got yourself into a problem to get you out of a problem? Of course, you notice that you couldn't. With the right understanding, that got you into the problem, got you into the struggle, got you into the sea of samsara. How could you get out of the struggle, the suffering, the sea of samsara using the same understanding that got you into it? So obviously, right isn't a good word to use in front of the 8 steps, the Buddha's 8 steps. I believe we need a different word. And that word, I believe, is more appropriate for today's understanding for the 8 steps of the Eightfold Path, is everything in front of the Eightfold Path starts with higher understanding, higher intent, higher speech, higher livelihood, higher action, higher mindfulness, higher concentration, and so forth. Because if you use your current understanding that got you into a problem, what would you need to get yourself out of a problem? You would need a higher understanding, at least higher, one step higher than the current understanding you have that got you into the problem. So, what does it have to do with the superiority and inferiority mindset that I talked about that is related to what I'm talking today in terms of understanding? Well, for many years, I always witness or observe a certain pattern in me. And that is a pattern that I overcompensate myself to deal with certain situations. For example, I worked as a technician fixing cameras in the past. Now, for someone who learns how to fix a camera, you need to learn electronics, mechanics, and photography. So if you were to learn all these things in order to gain a skill to repair cameras or to use a camera to take good photographs, you would just learn the skills. And you learn the skills that is enough for you to have basic competency in using and fixing cameras. But for me, right from the get-go, even I learned electronics, I felt I need to be an A student. I need to be the best. I need to be the best compared to others. And I always feel, why do I have to be the best? Even though inside of me, I felt that I just want to be a normal student, sitting on the desk, minding my own business, and just be a normal student. Be just enough to get me by. But I always wanted to be the best. And so I actually got to be the best. Even when I was taking the exams in electronics, I wanted to be an A student. 100% in my exam would be best. 97%, maybe 95% wouldn't be good enough for me. So I always have this pressure in me, this sense of pressure that I have to overachieve. I have to be the best. And of course, that led me to get a job in repairing cameras and also in photography, taking photos. And I was really good at it. But I always feel that pressure to overachieve. And then later on, when I developed certain hobbies in running marathons, riding bicycles long distances, and swimming long distances, this sense of overachievement also affected how I approach running a marathon and how I approach riding my bicycles long distances and also swimming. That I felt I have to be upfront. I have to be the best. I have to be an overachiever. So it's sort of like when I learned how to run a marathon, it was meant to help me maintain good health, reduce my obesity. When I was younger, I was somewhat obese, and I thought, well, the doctor said exercise, like running, would help you improve your physique. And I decided that running, at least for first, running would be a good idea because all I have to do is just buy a pair of running shoes and then I just go out and run. And it wouldn't cost me anything. Everything else is free. But of course, if you think about it, if I thought about it, everything wasn't really free because as an overachiever, I started to invest in running programs. I started to hire coaches to help me run faster. Now, imagine this is just me wanting to run, to be fit, but it got me into being competitive. And I became really competitive. I went as fast as 10K. I ran 10K for 38 minutes, which considering that when I joined the Vancouver Sun Run and ran 10K, I was ranked 88 out of 65,000 runners. And I was proud. I was really proud. I started running slow, and then after years of training with coaches and with supplements and with the right training or higher training, I became a really good short distance runner. And in high school, I actually got bronze in the track and field, which is third place. So what started out being an innocent fitness sport turned into a competitive sport for me without any reason. I couldn't understand why. Why am I so competitive? But nonetheless, it was really good. I, of course, attract a lot of attention, and a lot of my ex-girlfriends were as a result of my exceptional performance that these women really like me. They go out with me because I'm so special. But I didn't ask for that. I was just simply wanting to be the best. And that got a lot of attention. And I felt I wasn't really rejected from them. I felt accepted. I felt that I needed overperformance, complete excellence in my life, in my work, and also my sports and my hobbies. And I quickly realized that to be the best, to be special, you get a lot of likes. Just like we have today with influencers, where a lot of likes means that you're special. And it feels really good. At least in me, it felt really good, but it was empty good. It wasn't fulfilling good. It was empty that I needed more and more attention. I needed more and more excellence. So I'm sort of like one of those hamster running on a wheel. That in order for me to get more attention and no rejection, I have to continually perform to my best abilities. And it was easy when I was young because I have a lot of energy. I got a lot of injuries, of course. But in the end, I got a lot of acceptance from these people, which I thought they were my friends. They were my good friends. They always come to my birthday parties. They always come to my outings. They stay with me because later on I realized they're only staying with me because I was special. I was important. To them, associating with me made them also special. So I had this drive. And then what happened next was, as I grew older, I could no longer overcome the injuries that I had, especially running long distances. I ran up to 50 miles, which is almost close to twice the distance of a marathon, because a marathon is 26.2 miles or 42 kilometers. I ran close to 100 kilometers. I was so crazy that I could even run that far. But it was almost like you have to continually adopt an attitude of being more of, like more of the distance, more of the speed. And if you see today, it's like more of more money, more sex, more this, more that. But it's always more of. And you feel the pressure to perform, to continually deliver more of yourself. And so I succumbed to my injuries. And I thought, hey, I got a lot of friends. They would visit me, right? Well, a few did, but the rest somewhat disappeared. They didn't want to spend the time to see me. I didn't understand why. I was popular. Why are you not seeing me? But except for a few friends of mine. And of course, gradually, over time, because of my injuries, I started to run slower. I wasn't the fast runner that I was when I was younger. The injuries had put me in a situation where the pain limits my performance. And for a while, I started taking supplements in order to improve my performance. And that helped just a short while until, of course, even supplements couldn't help me anymore. So as I worsened my performance, I started to notice one particular thing. I started to feel that I was rejected by my friends, which I thought they were my friends. But they no longer see me as being special because I was getting slower and slower, and my performance was getting less and less excellence, and to them. And then when they start to realize that they could run faster than me, it's when they say, why do I have to associate with David anymore? I'm now running faster than David. I'm better than David, so why do I have to worship him or idolize him? And then at that point in time, I started to realize that they're not really my friends. And from then on, even I started to realize that fixing cameras, my eyesight is starting to get poor Because if you look at the components using your eyes a lot, your eyes start to go up, deteriorate, you're not as sharp, and I started to get behind. I'm not performing as well. And of course, my boss then started to no longer see me as an asset. Instead, I'm becoming more of a liability because they expect me to perform, they pay me well based on my performance, and now because I'm getting older, I'm not performing as well, my performance deteriorates. They decided that it was time for me to go. So they let me go. And I was quite upset because I have never been let go of close to 30 years of my work. I was able to always get a job in that field. When I was laid off or I decided to go to another different company to work. But I started to notice that as my performance and my ability to perform excellence is no longer there, I'm not wanted. And for the first time, I felt that sense of rejection. Or at least I felt I have to perform to cover up that sense of rejection in me. It's always there, but I have to perform. As long as I perform to my highest excellence, I can cover it up. I won't see it because everybody else will kind of go along with me and praise me. Oh, you're such an excellent worker, an excellent runner. But as soon as I no longer perform well, then they see me as being a liability. Oh, you're not fast enough anymore, so you have to go. So when I was let go, I was sort of depressed. And I felt that I was abandoned. I'm no longer special. I was good at doing those things, and now, after so many days and months of applying for a job, I just couldn't find another job. As though nobody wants to hire me anymore. Maybe because of my age, maybe because in this industry that I was working with, I wasn't as smart, as quick as the younger people that replaced me. So I was in a bind. I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. And I get this voice in me, the inner voice, that tells me, you might need to pivot, David. You might need to pivot. And this voice keeps saying, I need to pivot. And it was working in nursing that I need to pivot to. I couldn't understand why working in nursing has anything to do with me working in electronics. But there was a voice that tells me that you need to learn a lesson. And the lesson was rejection. There's a certain lesson that you have managed to cover up in many lifetimes that I was in. Rejection. And you develop a certain mindset that you need to overcome. You need to identify consciously, see it consciously, overcome, and let them go. And I realized when I was into the nursing course, they have this training called being assertive. being assertive with many nursing clients and patients, because in nursing, these patients can be quite overpowering, especially the narcissists. They can overpower you because they can disrespect your boundaries. And if you're not assertive enough and maintain your boundaries, you can be controlled by them. So they have this course. It's a multi-day course to help prepare us to deal with these patients. And so I was working with this counselor, and this counselor puts me in several scenarios. And she knew that I came from this particular industry, which has a tendency to overperform and the tendency to control people, because she just wants me to understand that I have this sense of wanting to control other people. And of course, I couldn't understand why. What do you mean by controlling other people? Because I was confused. I never control other people. I never just abuse people. Although I did notice from some of my friends in the past, they had noticed my behavior and they call my behavior passive aggressive, which is kind of meant I was controlling their response. I was trying to protect something in me so that they won't upset me. They won't upset my equilibrium that I develop in order to hide a certain trauma that I have in myself. And my counselor saw there is a trauma that I have in me, and that trauma is rejection. And I couldn't understand what she was saying. Well, what do you mean by rejection? I have never been rejected by my parents. My parents loved me. Yes, maybe for a time in the past when I was a child, I was rejected by my father because I told the truth where my father was hiding when the corruption people, it was in the Far East. There were people, government officials, want to get some money out of my dad, sort of like protection money, and my dad refused, and he hid inside the house, up in the roof, and the people came and I told them where, and my dad yelled at me for telling the truth, for telling them where he hid in the house. And from that on, of course, I had to tell the counselor that, and the counselor said, that was the beginning of your trauma, that you were rejected by your dad for telling the truth because you were doing something that was you. That was me that I always told the truth. But when I told the truth, I didn't know why I was rejected. It was my expression of who I am by telling the truth. And when I was rejected, I could not process that trauma. Since I was a child, I don't know what to do. So I started telling lies in order to cover up the trauma and tell myself I will never experience that trauma again. So it's good to tell a lie. But also that trauma led me to control people's actions and reactions. Meaning that whatever I express, say repairing cameras, photography, running a marathon, riding bicycles long distances and swimming long distances, all of that, if I don't have this sense of rejection in me, I can just do whatever I like. I can run a 10K for 1 hour. Doesn't really bother me. I may be last in the pack, but hey, I enjoy my running. But because I have that sense of rejection in me, I did not want to experience another rejection. So how do I reduce the amount of rejections from people? By overcompensating myself, by developing this overperformance. So if I'm better than them, if I'm smarter than them, if I'm faster than them, how can they reject me? How can they reject me? But I have to maintain this facade, this illusion, this performance, this overperformance in front of them all the time. It's always more of. Because if they're getting faster, if they're running faster, or if they're getting better in photography, I have to get much better than them in order to maintain that level of overperformance. And I couldn't help it because I did not want to experience another traumatic experience of rejection. So my counselor was telling me I have this superiority complex mindset. And that complex drove me because I have this sense of inadequacy and insecurity in regards to rejection that I overcompensate myself so that I won't get rejected. At the same time, when I was dating a few of my girlfriends, all of them turned out to be narcissists. Because I was telling my counselor that, and my counselor said, well, the women that you dated, they fit the profile of the benevolent narcissist, meaning that they're very nice people, except that they're very controlling. They use me as supply for their own gain. So my sense of rejection in me attracted these people. It's sort of like a symbiotic relationship, kind of like the superiority inferiority complex, but they are on the same coin. The heads and the tail, they may look different and separate, but they're on the same coin. It's just the flip side. And while I was attracting these women because of my overperformance, these women wanted to control me. And the same dynamics is they also have the superiority mindset. Their inferiority mindset attracted me because they want to achieve the same overperformance, excellence that I have. But at the same time, they want to control me, or they want to have me attached to them so that I cannot be without them. So I felt that I was walking on eggshells. I was trying to make them happy. So I was doing everything I can so that I don't feel rejected by them. So I felt that I need to do everything they say in order for me to feel accepted. But this is just a transactional, superficial relationship based on rejection. So I was seeking a relationship that I won't feel rejected, at least for me, that I always feel I need to overcompensate so I don't feel rejected. It doesn't feel like a natural relationship where rejection is a normal part of a relationship. But in me, I cannot accept that there's any potential of rejection from anyone. Even if there is a sense of rejection, I can tell myself, oh, there's not rejection. He's the bad person. She's the narcissist. I'm just leaving her because she is the narcissist and she's not rejecting me. But then I go out and date another person who happens to be another narcissist. So I keep attracting narcissists into my life. And I couldn't understand why. Until that counselor made a mention to me. Could it be that you put yourself in these situations to avoid rejection? Such as, I put this superiority mindset so I can be superior to everyone, so no one can reject me. Until, of course, I don't feel superior. And if I feel inferior, then I'm forcing myself to have people like me. So in the superiority mindset, I was forcing other people to like me through overcompensating myself. So for example, if I bake a bunch of cookies, and it doesn't taste good to other people, and the people who don't like my cookies, I will force them through manipulation, to control, to make them feel guilty that the reason they don't like my cookies is because they were disrespecting me. So I make them like my cookies even though it's not the best cookies. It doesn't taste good. It's not a sincere appreciation of my cookies. It's just they're only doing it because of what I did for them, or I did to them, is I force them to like what I have to offer. Until I have nothing else to offer, I don't have anything to offer, or I don't have all the cards to play, then they leave. Because they see me as having all the cards. As soon as I don't have the cards, then they will leave. The same thing with inferiority mindset is that I force myself to accommodate everyone. I make myself like a doormat in order to make everyone like me. Even though some people don't like me, I force myself even more to get people to like me. And what the counselor wants me to realize is that she didn't want me to work in this industry in helping and serving people by me being driven through my rejection. The rejection that I have in me, I'm compensating for my rejection by controlling the patients so they like me, or by over providing help to certain patients so they can like me. She didn't want to see that. She wants me to develop certain boundaries that I'm only serving in the capacity of nursing. People need help, they all get an equal amount of help. There is no need to control others. There is no need to control yourself so that you want people to like you. And that was quite a revelation, because I never actually considered myself having that sense of rejection in me. So I wonder, where is this rejection coming from? Because I always feel that I'm not of myself. I didn't want to overperform with my running, with my photography, with my camera repairs. I put myself into this in order to feel superior against other people. And when I see somebody I like, I put myself in a situation where I overcompensate by serving that person, saying everything, oh yeah, it's good, this is good, it's not your fault, I'll do it for you, I'll serve you. It's sort of, I perform like a doormat. And I couldn't help it. I don't know why. Until that counselor told me that I have a sense of rejection in me. It's sort of unresolved psychology of the trauma that I experienced from rejection. From rejection, I thought, well, maybe from my dad. Then one day I met a spiritual person, and he was telling me, no, David, the rejection that your counselor told you that you experienced came from a past life. Many past lives. It's being reinforced through many past lives. And this spiritual person asked me, do you believe in spirituality? And at the time, I was getting into spirituality. I was getting into Ascended Master teachings. And this person happens to also study Ascended Master teachings. And he was telling me that we are all spiritual beings. We all came from the same source. We all are children of God. We're all brothers and sisters. And that when we came here to express our individuality, our gifts. And when we came here, what we were shocked was that we got rejected. We don't know why we got rejected, but through many, many lifetimes, we got rejected time and time and time again until we develop a sense of overcompensation, because we don't want to express our individuality anymore. Or we want to express our individuality through another form, which is not through our higher self, our I am presence, but through our ego, in order to prevent the experience of rejection ever again. So we disconnected from our I am presence and our higher self. All the wisdom, all the expression that we do after that disconnection is through our ego. And that the understanding is no longer coming from your higher self or my higher self, my I am presence. That understanding comes from the ego. The ego sees fit to adapt, sees fit to compensate for your intent, your actions, your speech, and how you talk to people in order to get them to accept you. It's no longer them accepting you based on who you are. It's about accepting you based on what the ego wants them to accept you for. So you're not expressing authentically yourself or being yourself. You're being someone else, or you may copy someone who has the least rejection and become that someone. But it's not you. It's you copying someone else, or your ego copying someone else. So this situation of rejection puts you into a problem, a struggle. But this rejection is based on a lower understanding that puts you into this problem. The lower understanding that in many lifetimes ago, you believe that your expression is your unique expression, and you assume that people will not reject you. You didn't realize that God gave everyone free will, which means that God has or anyone has the ability, a free ability to reject you. That's why it's called free will, because how do you have free will if your expression cannot be rejected by at least one person or 7 billion people? So how do you overcome that? Is to accept that anyone can reject your expression, your authentic self-expression, whatever you want to express. There is always a potential that people will reject your expression. But that is God's free will. People are rejecting your expression not because you didn't express well, or maybe you need to improve your expression a little bit, but they can reject your expression because it does not resonate with them. And they're allowed to reject your expression. And if you accept that they are allowed to reject your expression, then of course what that acceptance allows you to do is to accept a higher understanding that you don't need everyone to accept you. You don't need to feel rejected. You don't need to overcompensate yourself in order to prevent others from rejecting you. You don't need to be a doormat to overcompensate yourself so that the person you like or the person you admire don't reject you. So this ties into Buddha's 8 steps. The first step, Buddha says the first step is understanding. And it's important because what is the ingredient of higher understanding? What is the essential ingredient in order to achieve a higher understanding? It is to reconnect with your higher self, your I am presence, to reconnect with your Christ self, with your Buddha nature. Because where is this higher understanding coming from? It's not coming from outside yourself. It's coming from inside yourself. And it was the inside voice that led me to meet that counselor that finally exposed and allowed me to see the inherent issue. It took me some time to see it, the inherent issue that I have with me, with self-rejection. And I couldn't see it until she helped me see it. And that's why Buddha, and I now understood that why Buddha sets understanding as the first step of the 8-step path, the Eightfold Path, because without higher understanding, all your intent, your action, your livelihood, your mindfulness, your concentration wouldn't be one step higher. Because if you have a higher understanding, higher than the current understanding that you have right now, you can move up higher, one step higher. Everything you do, your action, your intent, your livelihood will move up higher. Without the higher understanding, you cannot get out of the problem you put yourself into using your current understanding of yourself and the condition of this planet. And you cannot get a higher understanding until you seek help from other people, counselors, professionals that can see outside of your bubble, which you cannot see alone. And these professionals can be other people, spiritual people, professional people, or it could be your higher self, the spiritual guides, the ascended masters. They are the ones that can see beyond the bubble that you could see. They're the ones that can provide you and guide you to a higher understanding, an understanding that is one step higher than your own. And so you can get out of your situation. You can get out the illusion of Maya and the suffering of the sea of samsara only if you can have a higher understanding that gets you out of the problem. Otherwise, you're going into circles and you think you're getting out of the situation, but then you end up back into the problem because you're still using the same understanding that got you into the problem. It's because some of you will understand and some of you will know and resonate with what I had to say. So I thank you for listening to this talk and staying with me through the end. Until next time, I thank you all for subscribing to my channel and coming back to listen to my talks. So until next time, I'll talk about the other 7 steps of the Buddha Eightfold Path. These steps allow you to overcome your issues with life in order to walk that spiritual path, in order to have and change your inner experience. At least I find that it does help me change my inner experience, that I don't feel the pressure anymore to overcompensate for life, that I can express myself authentically. Alright, thank you very much for listening to my channel. Until next time, this is David saying goodbye.